Hi there, it's Jennifer and I'm back. I am sorry I had to take some time off. I've been slowly trying to get back into the swing of things and I'm hoping I'm there now. Well, today I am going to show you how to do a vellum overlay card. This is a fun technique that allows you to use any of your stamps along with vellum, which many of us have, to create really unique cards. I'll have lots of tips for you along the way, but be sure to stick around to the end also, where I'll give you a closer look at the beautiful color combinations that you can get from Altenew Inks. So I'll have that at the end of this video. Okay, for these cards, I'm actually using two different stamp sets. The first one I'm going to use is this one from Altenew. I really like these Altenew sets because it has these pieces that you can layer on top of each other to create a unique, very realistic looking flower. And it also has the top layer, which is an outline image, which we'll use for the technique. Okay, I have some white cardstock that I've cut, scored, and folded, and this is folded at about 2 3/4 by 4 inches. So it's a small little card we're going to put inside of our vellum card. Now this is the bottom layer of the flower that we're going to stamp today. I'm going to stamp several inks on top of each other to create that realistic flower. I'm using Altenew Inks, and I like that they come in combos of 4 so that you can have a light, a medium, a dark, and a super dark that you can layer on top of each other and it'll match perfect. I'm not actually using the light on today's cards. I'm skipping that and just using the medium, the dark, and the super dark. Now I went ahead and also stamped that same background flower onto some masking paper. That's what you see here, and I'm cutting it out. And I like to cut it kind of inside the edge of the stamped image. So you'll see that when I put this mask down, the mask is tiny bit smaller than the stamp image itself. I find that this gives me better masking results. So I have that mask ready using that base image. Now it's time to go ahead and build up that flower. So I'm taking the second image, the one that has a little less solid area to it, stamping that in the next darkest color, that was dusk. And now I'm coming in with the third layer. You can see them all over there on the left on the stamp set. This has an even less solid area to it, and I'm stamping that with the darkest blue. You can see it's a very realistic flower. Now I'm putting my mask on, and again you can see that the mask is slightly smaller than the stamped image. That's so that when I go to stamp this leaf on top, the ledge of that mask doesn't keep it from stamping completely. So by having it cut in a little bit, it really gives better results. I found that over time, this is the best way for me to do this. So now I'm stamping the leaves, and I'm using the medium shade of green. I think this is called frayed leaf. And I'm just stamping lots of leaves kind of coming out from the flower. Now I'm coming in with the next darkest color to do the layer on top of those leaves. Now the reason I skipped the lightest color in the Altenew color combinations is because I wanted this color to show through the vellum, so a super light ink would probably not be best. There you can see how realistic these flowers look when you're done. And by the way, you could use any inks for this. So you can use any light, medium, and dark inks you may have, or you can like double and triple stamp a lighter ink to make it darker each time. Okay, so here I have some vellum that I've cut and scored to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And this is a heavyweight vellum. It's about 40 pounds, and I like that heavyweight vellum because you can use it for a card base. So now I'm temporarily gluing our little mini card inside of the vellum card, floating right in the center there. I'm just temporarily gluing it just in case I need to move it later, but I could have glued this down if I wanted to. Making sure that I get that centered by using that grid line on my background paper that I have here. Now once I have this in place, I'm going to do some embossing on the front of the vellum that lines up perfectly with the stamped images inside of the vellum. So since this Altenew stamp set has those outline images I talked about, I'm going to use those on the top. But first, I always, especially on vellum, use my anti-static powder tool that puts a little powder down so you don't get powder where you don't want it. And now I'm stamping that outline flower with versamark ink right on the vellum, right over top of the colored flower underneath. And you can just look right through your clear block and stamp it up nicely, very easily. You could use a stamp positioner if you're not good at lining them up, but I really think if you get your head right above the block and look right through, you'll be able to line it up with no problem. These are pretty easy to line up. Now when heat embossing on vellum, you want to make sure your heat gun is super hot before you bring it to the vellum. And I just bring it in little intervals and I pull it away when it gets too hot and slowly cause that embossing powder to melt. And this prevents warping of the vellum. Now you could use any vellum here, but I really think a heavyweight, good quality vellum is one that works best. And I highly encourage you checking that out because it really makes a big difference to have that better quality. So you can see that flower lines up with the solid image inside of the card. But now we need to go ahead and put the mask on top again. Use my anti-static powder tool one more time, and then I'm going to stamp the outline of the leaves over this also. Every time I'm using the Versamark ink, looking right through the block, line up that outline stamped image with the solid image that's inside the vellum card. So this stamp layering set that I used here from Altenew worked great for this technique. However, if you don't have one like this, what you could do is heat emboss an outline image on the front of the vellum. Then in that little mini card inside, stamp the same outline image and color it in and line those up. So you can use any stamp for this technique. And check that out with that beautiful outline bouquet embossed on the front and the color behind it. Now I wanted to heat emboss a sentiment that matched perfectly to that blue flower underneath, but I didn't have the right color blue embossing powder. So I'm going to mix two to create my own. These are Wow embossing powders. I like them because they're super inexpensive and very high quality and come in beautiful colors. And I'm mixing some bright blue with some silver, and that kind of tones down that bright blue a little bit. I'm using a little container that I use to store my sequins. It doesn't seal perfectly, but I'm only using it to mix a little bit here, and I can always stand it up so it doesn't spill in the future. Okay, so now I'm using a sentiment set from Altenew. This is a great one because it has a lot of different thoughtful greetings on it. I'm using the Missing You, and I'm stamping that with Versamark ink, and now I'm going to mix that embossing powder on the front, or put that mixed embossing powder on the front. So this is the blue and the silver together, and it kind of looks speckled when you heat emboss it, but when you look at it from far away, it just looks like a deeper blue than what I started with by adding that little bit of silver to it. Mixing embossing powders is a great way to get exactly what you need for your card, and check that out. It's just beautiful, and it matches the inside nicely. I really wanted to have some small little embellishments that perfectly matched the sentiment that I just heat embossed. So what I did is I created my own. You can see on that blue card there on the left, I took some Hero Arts pearls and I just smushed some Versamark ink on top. Then I added that same mixed embossing powder that I had left over on top of it, and then I heat set it. So basically I created my own little embellishments covered in that textured embossing powder. It's really pretty in real life. You can't really see it well here on the screen, but they're just really unique embellishments. So you could take any gems or pearls or enamel accents you have, put some Versamark ink on it, any embossing powders that you want on top, and heat set it, and you get these really unique one-of-a-kind embellishments that are always a perfect match. It takes a little bit extra time, but sometimes it's just what you need. Okay, so now I need to glue this together and make sure it stays put. So I'm using some Be Creative tape. This is super strong. I'm going to adhere this into the center of my card. Then I have cut a piece of white cardstock, just not folded, just a piece of white cardstock, to that same 2 3/4 by 4 inches. And I'm going to glue that to the back of the card, just so you can't see that adhesive on the other side. Also, this will give me a spot where I can stamp my Handmade by Jennifer image on the back too. So here you can see how the card comes together. You can just open up the overlay, then open up the little mini card inside to write your little message. Now I did want to do one more thing to this. I wanted to add some shimmer, and this is really easy to do. I use my Wink of Stella clear shimmer pen, and I'm just filling in the outline image on the front of the card. Now this will be wet on that vellum, so it doesn't really dry real well. I just let it sit for a few minutes, and then I dab any extra moisture away with a dry cloth, and it leaves lots of shimmer behind. You can see a little bit of that shimmer inside the outline flower image, and it really makes a big difference in real life. I enjoyed this technique so much, I went ahead and made 6 more cards using the other Altenew color families. Now I promised I would talk a little bit about these Altenew inks, and at the end of this I'll link to a video that talks more about the properties of these inks. But here are the 8 color families that Altenew has available now. In each color family there are 4 shades, so you have light, medium, dark, and super dark inks in each of the color families. This takes the guesswork out of figuring out which colors layer together nicely to create beautiful flowers or images. You could use any inks for these type of stamps. These just really make it easy, and I like that they're also available in mini ink cubes in sets of 4, so it's a great way to save some money. Now these are just a great dye ink, but again, you could use any inks for any of these techniques. Okay, so let me just show you a little closer look at each of the color families. So here we have the cool summer color, that kind of pool color, and the green that I used for the leaves. This is a beautiful combination, and I really like the ocean waves color in that blue set. Now for the next card, I used the red Cosmos combination. In here, my favorite is the coral berry color. It's just a really nice kind of coral pink color. It worked great for this technique. Now here is the Summer Afternoon, I believe it's called. Yeah, Summer Afternoon. It's hard to find good yellow inks, but I really like the Buttercream and Warm Sunshine in this combination. By the way, for the rest of these cards, I switched the stamps that I use to this stamp set instead of the one that I showed you in the video, just for a variety. I really like the set. I've used it in the past, and I think it's one of those all-time favorites. Okay, next we have the Glacier Caves. This is more of a true blue color. In here, I really like the Caribbean Sky and the Parisian Blue. And then we have the gray. I'll be honest with you, I wasn't sure I needed the warm gray from Altenew. I went ahead and I bought it, and I am so glad I did, because this warm gray combination, it looks kind of platinum, especially if you put some like Wink of Stella on top. It makes it shiny. Look how elegant that looks. It'd be a good wedding card. So I'm really glad that I went ahead and got these grays. The evening gray in here and the morning frost are really beautiful. Okay, now we have the red sunset. This is more of like a peachy color. Beautiful. The blush color here and the crimson are just gorgeous. This is one of my other favorite combos of these. Then here we have the shades of purple. In here, I like the lavender fields and the deep iris quite a bit. So there are the different Altenew ink combinations. I do have these free downloads to create these little swatches if you want them, and the individual Altenew swatches over on my blog, so be sure to check that out. Here are all the cards that I created. This is a really fun technique and a great way to get more from your vellum. I hope you'll give it a try. If you are interested in the products I use here, I link below to lots of sources, or go over to my blog where I have much more information for you to check out. In the middle are 3 other videos that are related to this one. The first one shows stamp layering using the Misty stamping tool, which is a great time saver. In the middle is an information video about the Altenew inks that I talk about here, just more information. And the last one shows some more tips for creating vellum cards. I appreciate you watching and being patient with me as I get back into video making, and I hope to see you again soon.